man, there's just something that's unreal about that performance.
Yeah.
And like you said, just Jimmy, unparalleled ever. I mean, there's lots of amazing guitar players and revolutionizers, but I think still, as far as the kind of level and amount of innovation, the way he changed the instrument and music for all time. I mean, people still play Jimmy songs to this
Right.
day. I think it's funny how that song has evolved. Like sometimes it'll be used as like a symbol of the 60s generally in music.
Right.
And it's funny how many like Vietnam movies will use like Creedence or this song or whatever.
Right.
So much that it just feels like it's just about Vietnam. Like
Right.
not necessarily pro or con or whatever. It's just sort of like 60s. But when you're thinking about it in the context of protest, like the response to the rockets, the wailing of rockets, the screaming on the lyric rockets, and bombs bursting, we have the air raid siren.
Yes.
Wee-oo, wee-oo. Like, it's intense, and it's like about horror, but then it does feel like there's a note of hope in it as well.
Right.
And I think I didn't know he had played it that many times. For all I knew, that was the first time he ever played it. But I suspect because of his familiarity with it, his readiness to do things, when he would play it, it probably would be an expression of how he was thinking and feeling at that time based on the repertoire that was inside of him.
Yeah. For me, like one of the things I find beautiful about this song is like, and it's what really kind of pains my heart whenever I hear people speak negatively of protests in general, this idea that they somehow like hate America. And like it's such a frustrating sentiment to me because like it's like, no man, like because there's such a deep love for America that there's this passionate pain to make America a better place. And like that to me is captured in the song, just this idea of like, this is my home. And like, you know, it is beautiful and amazing, but it is also troubled. And like let's not forget that. Like it's what good loving relationship ignores, you know, difficulty and doesn't try to like improve.
That's right.
And like, we have a relationship with our country, you know, and it's like a good marriage.
That's right.
It should be like a good marriage, you know.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, right. Like, yeah, like if you don't like being smacked around, then you should leave. Like, let's go. What if I said I love you too much to leave? I want you to do better.
Right.
I was just thinking, maybe make America better than ever.
Right.
Like really engage with the hope of what America could be, the best part of the dream of America to be realized, you know?
Yeah.
It's interesting seeing the crowd. It does feel like they didn't know what to do with it, some of them.
Yes. Except for, did you notice there was one that they showed? There was one black guy that the camera rested on for a minute, and he just had the biggest smile on his face. Like, he's like, he gets it.
I absolutely saw that.
We don't know what to do with this.
Yep, I like this. Like, he's like, yeah, this is America. Like a few decades before.
Miles Davis Kind of Blue would have come out in the 60s too, right?
I believe that's correct.
So like for me I just wanted to reference that. I remember the first time I listened to that album and just being like, this is so experimental.
Yeah.
So if not improvisational, certainly it has that feeling. And so like this is a rock jazz song in a sense, in that it has that same, like this would have been noodling on a trumpet instead, if it had been a jazz song or on a piano. But like it has that same quality of just like play around inside of the confines, but really like stretch them as well.
Well, and that's one of the, not to get too far sidetracked, but the beautiful thing with the electric guitar is that you can step on something and change everything about your sound.
Right.
Like the wah pedal usage to make feedback happen because of the way he's notching out those frequencies, playing together with the fuzz pedal there, the Univibe making that swooshing sounds. Like, it's because there's things you could do with the trumpet, technique-wise, to make interesting sounds come out of it. But like, there's just nothing like the electric for like, and now I will sound totally different with one foot
Right.
press. Yeah. And the sustain, which is, it's just so sustained is powerful in music.
Right.
And the electric guitar is beat only by like
Organ, maybe.
exactly correct what I was going to say. The pipe organ or like the hurdy-gurdy, you know? Yeah. So what a powerful thing. It is interesting. You think of it as a guitar solo, but the other guys play at various times.
And Mitch Mitchell, I always want to point out Mitch Mitchell as, just being a fantastic, like in any other band, right? If he wasn't with Jimi Hendrix, he'd be right up there on everybody's lips with like John Bonham and,
right.
All those other guys, as just like, and he is one of the greats, but he definitely gets overshadowed. But yeah, I mean, I love it when he comes in on like Bombs Bursting in the Air, and it's just like, he's
right.
just like really laying into it. So yeah,
I always think too about those guys, like both his bandmates are white guys, and that they're taking lead from a black guy,
right?
This early on, like, hey, this is the man, and we're just here to back him up, to the point where they have been overshadowed, and like took an appropriate backseat to a black genius.
And right, and I think that's right, and I think that unfortunately, until we realize that we need to take a backseat to black leadership as a posture in order to learn things that we can't learn living in sort of like white culturally, cultural supremacy, essentially. Like you have to be a genius, like,
right.
And so like at that point, like he had to come out and play, and people had to just be like, my God,
right.
Like I will anything you say, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, and if you read, and I have done like interviews, that is basically what happened with this. Not that I don't know how racist they were. We all struggle with bias, especially at the time. But like they heard him play, and they're like, okay, well, whatever that guy wants.
We're in.
But to your point, like, yeah, that if we could get to a place as a culture where you didn't have to be, oh, I'm just the greatest guitar player ever, so maybe now you'll listen to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So Jimmy's existence is a protest, let alone the song.
Right.
What's next?
Okay, so next we're doing. I don't know if you'll know him by his name. Do you know Phil Lynott?
I do not.
He's now if I said Thin Lizzy.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, so he's the bass guitarist and vocalist for Thin Lizzy. He's actually Irish, which I didn't know. His dad is from British Guyana, and his mom is Irish. And so this is a song that he wrote, I want to say 1980, called Ode to a Black Man. And one thing I want to point out, he makes it next week. Maybe not next week, 2 weeks from now, I think. Either next week or 2 weeks from now, we're going to have a song by Stevie Wonder. And he actually references Stevie Wonder at the very beginning of the song. And I wouldn't say this is a diss track, but it's a little bit of a diss half of a verse because Stevie Wonder had released just prior to this song, there was a documentary called The Secret Life of Plants, and he did the soundtrack for it. So he released an album called Stevie Wonder's Journey Through the Secret Life of Plants. So he actually Phil Lynott opens this song by saying, like, hey, Stevie, I don't want any songs for plants. I want songs for me. And which, again, it's like Stevie Wonder did plenty for, so it's kind of funny that he decides to take a little shot at Stevie Wonder. I wonder if they knew each other. I wonder how that was received. I don't know, but it's kind of an interesting way to start the song.
That is interesting. Well, I don't know if I've heard of Thin Lizzy, but I don't know if I've ever heard one of their songs, so I'm looking forward to this. Let's go.
Yeah. Quick, before we watch it. The harmonica player is Huey Lewis.
But no news.
No news.
Okay. All right, let's check it out.